Welcome to my YouTube channel. This channel, if you are just watching this for the first time, you want to subscribe and stay on this channel if you want to create more abundance in your life, more prosperity, more financial wealth, greater self-esteem, and really create success effortlessly, because that's all I work on, is helping you be, do, and have exactly what you want. I want you to look at your life right now, first off, and I want you to understand everything that you currently have in your results. Look at what you're being, look at what you're doing, and look at what you're having. That's exactly what you're programmed for. But today, I'm going to give you a great game-breaking lesson on what changes the game financially for you, and that's your personal standard. Your personal standard is your DNA to success. Now, if I had 100 successful people in the room, I'm talking 7, 8-figure earners in the room right now, they may have a different recipe to get to success, but the one common denominator that everyone I mastermind with and everyone I've ever studied with is the standard is always a standard. The standard you can never let go. Never accept lesser standards. That's why I said earlier, your personal standard is your DNA to success. Now, let's take a look at this. Raising your standards is the ultimate self-improvement hack for earning more money. Now, I want you to take a look at you and look at your income. Your income will never exceed your personal standard. So look at your income and just understand that's where your current standards are set. But after today, we're gonna change them, and I'm gonna show you how to change them. So you wanna stick with me to the end of the presentation. Now, most people think making more money requires a new business strategy. It does not. Better investments, it does not, or the perfect opportunity. Now, I want you to bulletproof what I'm about to say here. Your financial reality is an absolute direct reflection of what you're willing to accept. So let's stop there. Let's look at the results, look at your bank account, look what you did in 2024, and understand that's what you were accepting. Now, you have the power to change that. You have the power to draw a line right now and say, from this point on, I am gonna significantly upgrade my life. I'm gonna bring every result in my life up to my new standard. And if you want to earn more, the step isn't about chasing money. We don't chase money. We attract it by the person we become, but we attract it by raising your standards for what you demand from yourself. Like, ask yourself, a lot of people don't demand much. The winners demand a lot. That's why I said the standard is always the standard. Now, your income matches your standard, not your potential. We all have so much potential that we're never even gonna use. Even the top performers. It's not about just having potential, it's about unleashing the potential. An individual with a great standard bets on themselves every day, and all of a sudden their income starts changing, their sales start going up, and they really start believing in themselves in every cell of their being. Plenty of people are capable of earning 6 and 7 figures, but they don't. Why? Because their standards are not up to the level of their capability, and they allow for procrastination, inconsistency, and low effort work. If you expect to be wealthy, but you keep tolerating excuses, poor standard. Distractions, poor standard. Comfort, really poor standard. Your bank account will reflect that. Now, if you're sitting here and say, okay, I'm giving you the cheat code on how to effortlessly and long-term create wealth is by upgrading your standards. The second you refuse to accept average effort, your results will rise to match your new standard. Now, let's look at this. High standards eliminate low income habits. Like, the people who are broke, they're always telling themselves, I am broke. Everything that follows I am is exactly who we become. That is a weak standard of language. But broke people settle for low value work, they settle for distractions, and their actions are very inconsistent. They start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Wealthy individuals set standards for how they use their time. They take such great advantage of the greatest asset we have, which is our time. And the level of the value they provide is an obsession. Their mission is their obsession. They're focused on how they can help other people, and that is their standard. And the money they tolerate is what they're earning. Raise your standard for productivity. How can I be the best version of myself today? How can I beat my personal best from yesterday? Then at the end of the night, when you're going and looking at what you did today, ask yourself, was I at my best? And an individual with great standards is always upgrading their skill set, skill development, and they're financially disciplined. They measure their finances by their mindset, by how they think, by how they feel, and how they act. But the biggest measurable of income and standards is how you serve. And your income will always follow how you serve. That's the law of compensation. Now, the marketplace always pays for value, not effort. That's why we've got to focus on upgrading our service and upgrading our skill set. There's a lot of people right now who are working so hard and creating so little. You get paid for the value you bring to the marketplace. I want to say that again. How are you going to increase your income? You're going to increase your standard, and you're going to increase your standard of service. If your standard, let's look at this. I want you to see this again. Gosh, this is so good. The market pays for value, not effort. If your standard is just working hard, you're going to stay stuck in a low income cycle. If your standard is to be the best at what you do and your earning potential is going to skyrocket, here's a great standard for you. What if you made a decision before you're ready right now that I'm going to be the standard in my industry? What do you think is going to change? All your results are going to come up to your standards. And ask yourself daily, how can I increase my value, solve bigger problems, and serve at a higher level? Now, wealth is not something we chase, it's something we assume. You have to learn the rules around wealth and money. No person is wealthy, no person has a significant amount of prosperity in their life until they decided to do it. But wealth always flows to those who expect it. People with low financial standards say, I hope I make more money. I'm really hoping. People with high standards say, I will not accept earning less than X amount per month. They draw a line in the sand and they set their goal because the standard always is more important than the goal, and we'll get into that later today. When you raise your income standard, you start making decisions. What does that mean? That means I think, feel, and act that align with my reality that I want. Better investments will start coming, smarter risks, and higher paying opportunities. The market meets where your expectations are set. So let's look at this. We never attract what we want, we attract what we expect. And everybody has an expectation. An individual with high standards has a high level of expectation. An individual with a low standard has a very low expectations. High standards eliminates low paying environments. Do you notice that there's certain people that whatever they touch turns to gold? It's because their standards have become part of their identity, because our new standards shed our old identity. If you allow yourself to stay in underpaid jobs, you're charging too little. Most people do not value themselves because they have weak standards and they are charged way too little. They stay in toxic business deals. They'll take a sale, they'll take a deal, even though they don't enjoy that. It is not part of their core value. And what you want to understand, you'll never break out with low standards. The fastest way to earn more money is to stop tolerating situations that keep you stuck at your income, and it will keep you broke. Surround yourself with people who challenge your financial standards. I want you to study people who are already at the income you want, and watch how they operate. Watch how emotionally free they are. Watch how confident they are. Watch how free they are in their actions. And then you become that. Invest in coaching, invest in their knowledge, leverage their specialized knowledge, and position yourself in high income environments. Now, I want you to burn this slide in your mind. Your financial situation isn't just about opportunity. This is the key point. It's about what you refuse to tolerate. I want you right now to make a commitment of what you no longer will tolerate. That will upgrade your standard in this moment. If you want to earn money, start assuming wealth. Make it become a part of your identity. Stop chasing money and start raising your standards. Because the moment you decide that your current income is no longer acceptable, you'll take the actions necessary to create great wealth, great confidence, great identity, and understand high earners don't have bigger dreams, they have higher standards. But I want you to understand the universe will give you exactly what you ask for. Too many people are asking for a little. You ask for a little, you're gonna get a little. Don't downsize what the universe wants to give you. I want you to decide exactly what you want to earn in 2025 and forget about the how, forget about the when. If you stay on my channel, I'm going to teach you the how and the when. But standards is going to bring everything in your environment up to your new standards. Now, success is a way of being. It's a way of thinking. And success starts with discipline and standard. So right now, if you go back to how we started this, discipline is your ability to accept and reject ideas. The effect will be in your actions, but you have to build discipline and standard together. And that means committing to excellence, showing up, doing the work, and doing whatever it takes to be great, even when you don't want to. There's a difference between winners and losers, and it's standards. It is standards. But remember this, I want your expectation to match your standard. You can't have a standard that is up here that I'm gonna 10x my income and have an expectation that is at your present income. They're way out of resonance and you will never attract it. I want you to expect the good you desire. Expectation is the biggest contributor to success. Now, when we talk about standards, I want you to draw a line in the sand in all areas of your life. But you are not going to accept anything under this line. Who you used to be, you just disrupt that thinking and say, that was the old me. My new standard is that I'm going to turn my annual income into my monthly income. Any thought that is under that, you reject it. And you only accept what you want. Now, let's go deeper into standards. It is impossible to exceed the standards you have for yourself. Your standard sets your baseline. It sets what you attract regularly. Your standard also sets the direction of where you're going. Weak standard, weak goals. Weak standard, weak environment. Weak standard, weak inner circle. High standards, you're gonna have people who are matching your standards. The standards we hold of ourselves is our most important core value that we have. Now, look at this. Our personal standard up here, I want you to commit right now and don't worry about how. You build your standard one day at a time. But before you can build it, you have to make a committed decision. I am really going to up-level my standard. I want you to set your standard, and I promise you, all your results are going to start coming up to your new standards. Now let's look at this. What is the standard you currently have? Let's just ask some questions. I want you to look at this. Look at your current bank account, look at your current investment account where your money is, and that's your current standard in that area around money. Now look at your self-confidence, look at your attitude towards yourself. That's the standard you have about you. How good are you at accepting your goals that the outcome's already done? How good are you about selling? That's a standard. Look at the actions you're taking. Do you take inconsistent action or do you take inspired action mixed with a standard? That will tell you your standard towards action. Look at your health. Are you yo-yoing up and down? Or are you in the best shape of your life? Standard towards health. Here's a big one. Accepting new ideas. I'm asking you to allow you to create great wealth. You have to have a much higher standard of yourself. We have to build a much bigger idea of who you are. And that means accepting new ideas and acting on them right away. That's standard. And then discipline. Are you starting and stopping? Then you have an inconsistent standard, or if I'd like to say, it's not a standard at all. So we want to really ask ourselves these questions. Now let's look at your business results. I want you to look at this is, what are my business results? Standard. What is my income? Standard. How are my relationships? Standards. Am I at my perfect weight, looking amazing and feeling great? Standard. And how are my boundaries? This is the hard one for people because they love to please other people. Remember, every time you're wanting to please somebody else, you become a prisoner to them. Now, what else is connected to our standard? Our happiness. I have a client I was working with, and his name is William, and he told me all I worked with him on was a standard. And he said, Arash, I got to tell you this. My income changed so dramatically, but the greatest part that changed for me, I've never been happier. I said, it's because you upgraded your standard in everything we were working on. We went in and dissected and got rid of and killed off his hidden commitments that were inside of him, driving him, and built much higher standards. And what does he tell me? He's the happiest he's ever been. Now, I want you to imagine you were the happiest you've ever been. How would that feel? Now, it's not the smartest person that wins. It's the one that is most relentless. Relentless is somebody with a high standard. It's not forcing. It's in a calm, confident manner. Relentless is leading with the heart. Now, I want you to look at your life right now, and let's ask ourselves, what is my standard gap? What is the gap in my standard from where I am to where I want to be? Is that I am inconsistent? So we create discipline as your standard. That's the first standard we would create. Is it not dreaming big enough? Then we've got to set big targets for you. Is it procrastination? Then we make your standard doing it now. I want you to write down what comes up in your mind. What is the gap in my standard from where I am to where I want to be? Now, what's a great standard to set? I want you to set it before you're ready. That be so good at what you do that you become the standard in your industry. That's where we upgrade ourselves. We hold ourselves to a standard of excellence. Now, if you're always working with low energy, understand you have a weak standard in thinking. Weak thoughts, weak energy. Energy comes from big ideas. I want you to think prosperity. Everything you're thinking poverty, you have weak thoughts and it's going to affect your energy. But let's look at this. When you put the proper standards in place, you're going to speed up the goal achieving process. You will create a quantum leap every 90 days. But in order to do that, you have to decide, I'm really going to make 2025 the best year of my life. I'm going to create financial freedom. And you can absolutely create financial freedom this year. Look, when I started this, I was $150,000 in debt, foreclosure sticker on my garage. When I committed to raising my personal development game, raising my standard changed the game, and it's going to change yours too. Standard always wins. Now, what else will your standard set? It sets the tone of your life philosophy. What's your life philosophy? What you automatically accept. You're going to see your philosophy changing. It's your automatic operating system. And then your standard is going to set the tone for your business. Now, you'll know if you have a high standard by what I'm about to share with you right here. You decide what kind of life you want to live. Then you say absolutely no to anything and everything that does not meet that standard. Watch what will start changing in your outside world in 7 days, in 14 days. I want to give you a 7-day test that if you start saying no to anything that is not how you want to live, I guarantee you if you will do it all day long for 7 days, you're going to start seeing the outside world reshaping itself. And you're going to know you have a kick-ass standard because you're driven by your instincts. You're going to have killer instinct. When you have inspiration, you act on it right away. That's somebody who has a high standard. Now, we've got to write down. I want you to take a moment and write this down. I want you to write down, pause this recording. Right now, I want you to pause it, and I want you to ask yourself, what are my non-negotiables to win? And I want you to set your standard at your non-negotiables. Number one, I'm building a bigger idea of myself. Another non-negotiable is I'm only competing against who I was yesterday. My job is to beat my potential from yesterday. And I am acting on ideas right away. I do it now. Doing it now is the best habit you can ever create for yourself. What's another standard? Focus. I'll give you a one that's going to change your results immediately. Every day, do something out of your comfort zone. Set whatever you want as your non-negotiables. I just wanted to give you some ideas. Now, let's look at this. I want you to consciously, that means you decide what you're going to create at your standards in all areas of your life. Your personal life, your professional life, the type of experiences you have, your environment, and your health. I want you to stop and really write out the standards. And if you do this inside work, I promise you, it's going to affect your outside significantly. Now let's look at this. A lot of people get confused about goals and standards. They're not the same things. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you accept. There's so many people who have goals, but they don't raise their standard and they're rejecting what they have to accept. Your future self standard is so much greater than yours currently. What you're saying yes to right now is your standard. I want you to say yes to what your future self would say. Standards are always what you accept. A goal is something you aspire to achieve, but a standard is the level at which you refuse to live below. That's why I said, draw a line in the sand, and I'm not accepting anything under this. Goals push you forward, but standards dictate your daily actions. I'm going to say that again. This is absolutely crucial to understand. Goals push you forward, but standards dictate what you do every day. And it's not what you do once in a while that creates a world-class life. It's what you do every day. You may have a goal to get in great shape, but if your standard allows for skipping workouts, eating poorly, you'll never get there. You may have a goal to build great wealth, build a successful business, but if your standards tolerate inconsistency and excuses, that success will always be out of reach. When you raise your standards, you automatically elevate your results because you no longer, there's the word again, tolerate. You no longer tolerate anything less. That's standards. When you refuse to lower your standards, you force everything around you to rise. Your results will elevate. Your relationships are going to be empowering. Your opportunities are going to be limitless. And ultimately, your life is going to change. Now, mediocrity cannot survive in a high standard environment. I say this all the time. High standard individuals and low standard individuals do not get along. Why? Because they can't relate to each other. When you set the bar and hold that line of where your standard is, you attract people who respect your values, opportunities that match your ambition, and success that aligns with your discipline. There's that D word again. Mix discipline and standard, you watch your income absolutely soar. The moment you decide that good enough is no longer good enough, everything changes. I want you to understand, and this is a great book by Collins, From Good to Great. He says, good is the enemy to great. And I'll give you another term. He's talking about standards right there. When you have a high standard, you never settle. You stop settling, you start growing, and the world begins to respond to the newest version and the best version of you. Now, refusing to lower your standards is not about being perfect. It's about failing forward. Every time you fail, you understand it's a lesson of what I need to course correct. I'm constantly course correcting myself. It's about being committed to your highest potential, because in the end, you don't rise to your goal, you rise to your standards. I want you to brain tattoo this. For me to achieve all my goals, I have to level up my standards, because you will never rise to your goals. You always rise to your standards. Now let's look at this. How does standards shape a great identity? Once you implement a new standard, you literally shed your old identity and this new version of yourself starts coming out. You just watch your thinking. You start accepting new ideas right away. But you've got to understand your identity is not defined just by what you say. It's built by what you repeatedly tolerate and demand for yourself. When you raise your standards so high, it's just going to be a part of you. You don't judge it. You don't change what you do. You transform who you are. And here is why standards shape our identity. Number one, you redefine what's possible for you. The moment you decide you won't settle for anything less than excellence, your mindset shifts. Everything is going to start changing for you. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. Try is a very limiting word. You never see yourself as somebody who tries. I do. You become someone who does. Number two, you create a habit, a track record of discipline and integrity. Let's look at this. Your standards dictate your daily habits. That's why standard always wins. Standard is the key to everything we do. But your standards dictate your daily habits, and those habits shape your self-image. And your self-image is what is created by your standard, but what happens with self-image? We can never outperform it. Look at your results and it'll tell you where your image is. Your image is the foundation of your success. Now, when you commit to high standards and higher standards and follow through, you build self-respect, confidence, and an identity that is unshakable. And that identity is rooted in automatic discipline. It will be harder for you not to act like that person than to act like it. You become someone others look up to, that they admire. People don't admire those who settle. They admire those who really bet on themselves and do great things. They respect those who demand more from themselves. That's why I'm going to say it again, standard always wins. I hope you're picking this up. Your standards determine the people, opportunities, and experiences in your life. That's why nothing has changed my life more than standards. You attract a higher level environment. When my standards went up, all the people in my environment were higher than me at that time. And they kept raising and raising. Why? Because you are on the same frequency. Now, let's look at this. Your standards determine the people, opportunities, and experience in your life. The stronger your identity, the more naturally, what is natural? It's just a part of you, like brushing your teeth and breathing. The more naturally you align with excellence. Mediocre situations and people will no longer fit in your old standard. It's just outdated. It's like a computer. When the software is updated, you don't go back to the old software. Same thing with standard. You deserve, and you must make this a part of your standard, that I have an unshakable mindset. I may fail, but I never stop. I understand fear is to help me, not to stop me. When high standards become who you are, you don't back down, you don't hesitate, you don't shrink, you get better at heart. We all have to get better at heart. Heart is there to serve us. Obstacles are not there to stop us. They're there to prepare our mindset and mental toughness for where we're going and what we're going to achieve. You will become someone who doesn't negotiate with themselves, doesn't negotiate with excuses, weaknesses, or distractions, and that's where your commitment becomes unbreakable and unshakable. Now, your identity, understand this, I told you identity is the foundation of your life. It's the foundation of your success. When we looked at all areas of your life, that was your identity in those areas. But your identity is built by your standards. If you want to 10x your identity, 10x your standards, watch how much your identity changes immediately. If you want to change your life, don't just set bigger goals. Raise what you demand for yourself. Every single day, I want you to raise a bigger idea of yourself, because the moment you do, you don't just change what you achieve, you change who you become. Standard always wins. The standard is the number one hack that took me to earn an 8-figure business. Standards change the game, and if I can do it, you can do it. Understand, you have just as much power inside of you as the icons that created great things. If you look at Steve Jobs, you have just as much power in you that he does in him. But we've got to be aware of it. And how do we tap into that? Standard. Remember, Our standards are our DNA to success. I want you to watch this over and over again. I want you to stop this and go back and do the exercises that I told you. I want you to write down your standard and watch how your income changes. Look at your goal right now. Is that a lesser standard? After watching this, what do you want to achieve? If you enjoyed this, I want you to share this. If you know one person, if you know 10 people who can create great value from this, share it with them and watch it. Standard always wins.